welcome to today's lived experience webinar. So our title for today's webinar is Living Well with Dementia, the Power of Staying Active. So my name is Kim McKercher, and I'm a provincial coordinator with the Alzheimer's Society of BC, and I will be your host this afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speakers today. So first, I would like to introduce David Nickel. So David grew up on a large acreage in Coldstream and now resides in Chilliwack. During his career as vice president of Costco Western Canada, he was known for his engaging presentations, including a Canadian-themed game show, The Price is Right, eh? At the annual International Costco Conference in Seattle. So after retiring, David was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and has been living with the disease for several years. Staying active is important to David, and it helps him to live well with dementia. And next, I'm going to introduce Brian Stanley and Penny Jones. So Brian and Penny were beginning to look forward to the next chapter of their life together when Penny began noticing changes in Brian in 2021. So Brian received a diagnosis of young onset dementia 1 year later in his mid-50s. After spending some time grieving, Brian decided to continue to live his life to the fullest. Training and participating in sports have helped Brian and Penny to find resilience, strength, and community on the dementia journey. And so I want to thank you both for joining us today. And I'd also like to invite you, Penny and Brian, to share where you're joining us from today.
We're from Prince George on the lands of the Clayton Tenay people.
Thank you so much. All right. I so appreciate both of you being here today to talk about this a topic that I know is really important and a big part of your life. And so we'll get started with our discussion today. So just to provide a little bit of context, there is currently no way to stop the progression of most dementias, but there are many things that we can do to maintain a healthy lifestyle and to slow the progression of the disease. And so one of those things is staying physically active. So physical activity can improve our overall well-being, it can help us alleviate stress, and it promotes good health. So we've invited our guest speakers to share how they have personally benefited from engaging in physical activity and sport, as well as to share some tips on how they keep motivated to ensure that physical activity remains a consistent part of their daily life. Because that can always be a challenging piece, is to maintain that activity over time. And so I do want to note that our guests today will be speaking about their own personal journeys and how they've found strength through activity and sport. And we hope that you'll find inspiration from our guests today. But we do recognize that staying physically active will look different for everyone. So it'll look a bit differently for each of us. Our activity choices are influenced by our abilities, our health, our goals, our life experiences, and then also what we have access to in our communities in terms of fitness programs, gyms, and sport facilities. And so having said that, let's dive into our discussion today. So David, I'm going to direct the first question to you. Research tells us that it's important to engage in at least 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per week. And so they do recommend maintaining to maintain your overall health. So that could be things like brisk walking, jogging, swimming, or even a dance class. And then it's also recommended that we include strength training activities as well as balance exercises into our routine. So David, I'd love to hear what type of physical activity do you do in a typical week?
I try to get to the great gym that we have here in Chilliwack. Probably average 4 times a week, I guess. And I'll start out with doing some weights for about 15-20 minutes, and then do a long session of cardio. About would do, I don't know, on treadmills or whatever, do and walk the machines, but probably another 45 minutes or so. But so, and I kind of one of those calorie counters and stuff as it goes along, just as a motivator. So you usually get in the 600-700 calories or whatever range, at least for the day. But that helps a lot, and I feel great when I leave there. Just, I do with the disease, I get the weird things of medications, I guess, then going through your brain and bouncing around sometimes out of nowhere. I think other people who have the disease maybe can relate to it, but yeah, it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't. But yeah, it's you get these weird little at least I do, little flashbacks of maybe from a dream a night or two ago, or it might be, and it just bounces in your brain in the middle of doing something else, and it's so that's one of the reasons I'm not driving a vehicle so these days. But it's it's very good there, and it's great to have people there to talk to. I know this was about the physical part, but yeah, the physical part helps a lot.
So the regular visits to the gym, the
Yeah.
walking, that's
Yeah.
you've mentioned really helped with mental clarity and just keeping helping with your thoughts and those types of things, and also quiets your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Brian, I'm gonna ask the same question to you. Can you tell us a little bit about how sports and physical activity play a role in your life and how you stay active?
Well, first off, thank you for having us. And sports have been a part of my life since I I can't remember not being around sports. It was a very important part of growing up. So it's nothing that's not a Johnny come lately to sport. But since and I was very active all the way through. But since diagnosis, it's become much more of them. To me, it's replaced work really. And I have since my diagnosis in 2022, I've sort of, I think I've gone full bore. I think you can say uh, um, I've played and coached lacrosse. I do a very intense workout, usually 6 days a week at our local Y. I played slow pitch with my son, and and April 2023, well, actually, it was probably from diagnosis until April 2023. I trained for and competed in a international wrestling tournament in Las Vegas, coached by my daughter, and that was uh, about 8 months worth of intense training, up to 6 hours a day. It
Wow.
was like it
Wow.
was a full commitment. Yes, I say full family commitment, and it was really internally appreciative of that. And just recently in July, last month, completed my first sprint distance triathlon. That's 750
Amazing.
meter swim, 20K bike, and a 5K run. So I like the gym. But I don't think I could do this if I didn't like being active. And I've got to support it. And the key is I got to support a family behind me. So, they've been anything I've wanted to try. They've been not joined me doing it, but they've at least been quite supportive in my efforts.
Thank you. And can you share a little bit about how your involvement in these physical activities has helped with your physical and mental wellness?
Well, the physical benefits, like I've got some other health issues going on. I've got sleep apnea, and it helps manage that, and it helps manage my diabetes as well. You know, the weight training, and that builds my strength, and I spend a lot of time on the elliptical as well, so that helps my cardio and endurance, and it supports my mental health, mainly in the regard that when I'm doing sport, like I don't know, since diagnosis, um, it's sort of become my identity. Like I've been but be with sport and activity, it allows me to just be the Brian I was before the diagnosis. And as you can gather, I'm quite competitive, and doing these things help keep that competitive drive satisfied.
Thank you. That was very beautifully said, that it helps you your identity not just be about dementia, but there's so much more to who you are.
Can I say something to Brian too?
Yeah, please do.
I appreciated hearing what you're talking about. The lacrosse thing came to mind because we moved to Chilliwack from New Westminster, where lacrosse is the middle name there. So and my wife played and coached lacrosse, so I try to remind me to push her to see about getting back to doing that in Chilliwack. I think it would be a great idea. But so
spent lots of times in Queens Park Arena, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, it's a raucous place. Or it could be. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll turn to the chat box for a minute and share some of what our participants have shared that they enjoy doing for physical activity. So Tobias shared that he is into disc golf, and his spouse is his paid caddy. So there we go. So you're both out and getting physical activity. Riding a tricycle in Steveston Village. That sounds wonderful. Volleyball and hiking, nature walks. We have lawn bowling, stationary bike, climbing stairs, going to thrift stores. I love that one. Yeah, getting your steps in for sure. Bike riding, aquafit classes. So a lot of really wonderful suggestions shared. And David, there is a question. You don't have to answer it if you're not comfortable, but someone has asked how old you are.
71.
71. Thank you. And Brian, you're in your 50s, is that correct?
59.
59. Thank you. All right. So thanks for sharing kind of what your physical fitness routine looks like, and how it's helped you physically and mentally. And I'd like to talk a little bit about goal setting and kind of how you keep motivated to maintain physical activity in your day-to-day life. So we know that setting goals can be an important step when it comes to keeping physically active. It can help us provide direction, purpose, and motivation just to help us stay consistent. And then setting and reaching our goals can also help us really maintain our self-confidence, which I think is really important along this journey. And so, Brian, you've mentioned a little bit about some of those big bucket list items that you recently completed, like training and competing in the Las Vegas wrestling tournament and completing your first triathlon. And you also shared with us that you love to maintain your competitive nature. The competitive side of sports is really what drives you in many ways. And so can you share or talk a little bit more about how training for and accomplishing these big athletic goals has helped you find your purpose and meaning after receiving a dementia diagnosis?
It just gives you that sense of accomplishment that you've been missing from, say, working on and being successful at a project at your work, and really and it puts you back on that even playing field that you may have lost with the diagnosis, because a lot of people, I don't know, a variety of sympathy to sympathy to pity and all that stuff. But when you get on the competitive court, it's like, no, come on, bud, it's me and you, and Henry calls it showing off, but getting into a weightlifting contest with younger guys at the gym is kind of fun too, because they kind of bow out after a while sometimes, and sometimes they don't. But it's still, nobody worries about dementia there. So I just love that I'm competitive, right? And I don't like, I don't, I don't like, oh, he's in good shape for a guy with. No. I just like we're all out here, we're all playing. When I played slow pitch and I couldn't beat out a play to first base because I was too slow, I didn't get another try, which was, I was out. But by the same token, if I cracked a good one and made it to second, it was a good double, right? So nobody looked at my diagnosis and put an asterisk beside it either way. So that's what I like about sport. And those things too break down stereotypes, right? That they don't expect when they know my diagnosis. After a while, they don't even. I'm secure enough to say now. So a lot of the guys that I train with, compete against, don't even think about it once we start the game, right? They know I'm still viable. They know I'm still out there, right? And they better not let their guard down because it's competitively, of course. I'm not going to do anything, but it's just I do like that equalization that and the breaking down the stereotypes on the sports field at least, and hopefully other people when they say find out that there's someone else in the gym or on their team who may be in early stages or at a different stage of dementia development of dementia that I have, they'll be a little more accepting that okay, these guys, it's not a you can't play anymore kind of thing, and I like that.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, so despite some of the myths that exist around the disease, receiving a diagnosis does not mean that you're no longer capable. And I love how you speak about when you're on the athletic field, you're not Brian, the guy with dementia, you're Brian, the opponent, Brian, the competitor, and dementia isn't first and foremost.
Hope so.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Penny, I want to hear a little bit from your side of things. So, because we know that you've shared with me when we were planning this webinar that a lot goes into organizing and competing in these types of athletic competitions, like the wrestling tournament and the triathlon, and a lot of time and energy and family resources even go into supporting Brian's goals. And as his partner along this journey, it's been a little bit your role to find balance as well as supporting these accomplishments. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what that's been like for you.
Oh, I have a lot to say. And when Brian and we met in our 30s, and Brian was a big gym buff then, 8 hours a day. And when we met, I had children, and I'm like, if you want to join this family, 8 hours in the gym doesn't work. That's not a family life that's realistic. So things had to dramatically change for us to become a couple and a family unit. Then we both continued our careers. One of the things that's very different for us that some people will relate to, but some can't, is that we were mid-50s when Brian was diagnosed. So Brian, unfortunately, was not able to continue to work. But we always, since we met, we've always had his life, my life, and our life. And my life has nothing to do with the gym or any sports. I acknowledge the lady that thrifts for sports. That's me. I am not a competitive person. I do not do sports.
Right? Take part in sports.
I don't take part in sports. Yes, I am competitive, but I don't take part in sports. But when Brian was diagnosed, that changed our dynamics greatly. Unfortunately, about a year and a half after Brian was diagnosed, I became quite ill myself. So the amount of time that we spend together is the most time we've ever spent together in our whole relationship. And that's the good, bad, and the ugly. The fact that Brian still has the gym and still has his sports still means he has his own independent life away from me, which we're both grateful for. Like, we both still need our own time. So sports have given us that. But when Brian was diagnosed, he had this, great big bucket list. He'd always wanted to go to Las Vegas, compete. I'd like to think we make decisions together, but both of us know that I make all the decisions. And I said, no, because we were working and raising children. As soon as he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it's like, go to Vegas. Like, damage is kind of done, go to Vegas. So again, 8 hours out of his day went to training. All the finances went to Vegas. Everything went to Vegas. And when Tim and I were talking before, one of the things that I do is I say the things people don't want to say, is that, it's sometimes hard not to become resentful of the person who is diagnosed with dementia because all the attention goes to them. But then how do you live with yourself that you're resentful for somebody who was diagnosed with dementia? So we try and find a balance in having open conversations in regards to that, and open conversations in regards to Brian's commitment to sport and the commitment that this family has to give. And sometimes that's a matter of toning it down because, as Brian's journey continues on, he gets more and more fixated on things. So we kind of try and find that balance where we still have our own lives, but I want to be as supportive as I can of Brian, but there is also a line, right? I mean, I'm dead proud of what he's done. I mean, his first triathlon, we were all there, including his extended family traveled across the province. He did a marathon. He's not telling you this, but he did a marathon on the elliptical, 42 kilometers, to raise funds for Alzheimer's. That was incredible accomplishment. We had 3 teams go in the Iceman competition, 13 of his family members showing up. We call ourselves the Sea of Purple because we all wear purple T-shirts. So it's been both like a gift for us as a way to give back to the Alzheimer's Society. It's been a gift to us for Brian to have that sense of purpose, but it's also presented some challenges for us, right? It's not my mentality to go to the gym, but I 100% support Brian because it's the only way he's always stayed as mentally well as he does, right? And since dementia, it's the way that he feeds his ego and self-esteem that he can lift more than the steroid boys, that he can, that he can go faster than this guy. That it's huge for him. And when you lose your work and you lose your role and your identity because of dementia, this is one area it doesn't affect. In saying that, Brian will be surrendering his license September 1st. He goes to the gym. He says 6 days a week. It is every day. So we have to rearrange our family to support Brian to go to the gym, but he doesn't want to lose his independence. So he's going to be doing the bus, which will be 3 hours a day on the bus to go to the gym for 2 hours. So trying to accommodate those things and have those conversations as a couple as to how we can work that way into our schedule.
And again, I know I mentioned it earlier, but I'm totally cognizant and totally appreciative of everything Penny's done and the family does for me. So yes, I sometimes do get that fixation is real, it is true, but it never, the appreciation is always there. I just want that out there. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important to hear how you find balance throughout this because Brian's accomplishments are absolutely incredible, and they've done so much to build awareness as well as fundraise for the Alzheimer's Society, which is beyond amazing. But they do come at somewhat of a cost, and so it seems like you have become a really strong pair and team throughout this journey, and recognizing where both of you are at. The reciprocalness of it, if that's a word, is wonderful. And I think such an important thing to find to successfully navigate moving forward. So thank you for sharing that piece. And something you said, Penny, when we were planning this session was around you kind of coming to your own understanding that the gym really was a need, not a want for Brian, but in order for him to be his best physically and mentally, and especially after his diagnosis, that it's such an important part of his life.
It's not like my mom is of the generation, so he has the luxury of going to work out every day. It's not a luxury, it's an absolute for Brian. Even when pandemic hit, we're big people, so we had to get a weight bearing elliptical, and the only place it would fit was in our formal living room, right? And I'm like, oh, it's gonna smell, so I had a big fan. Well, I'm going to open the door. But I didn't realize it made such a noise. So I'm like, I've got my headphones. We had all these accommodations to make sure I could live around his big ass elliptical.
All true.
All true, yeah. But those things have to happen. I mean, it's part of all of us for the need for physical exercise. We just have all a different way of doing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh.
And David, so you have told me that you are a self-proclaimed Fitbit fanatic, and that you like to set goals for yourself in terms of how many steps you hit each day. And one of the ways that you help yourself stay motivated is through music. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more from you about how you keep yourself motivated to go to the gym and to get those steps in. And if you have any songs you can recommend, we'd love to hear.
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, no, yeah, definitely like to get lots of steps in. You know, many times it'll be up to 25,000 plus in a day even when they start with the 10,000. But some of that's when I'm golfing, because the golf you get more steps, especially the way I golf, army golf, left, right. So you get more steps in there. But even if not golfing, I'll still get up in that close to 20,000, 18, 20,000. But when I do, like, even whether at the gym or even walking around our neighborhood, there's lots of hills on the Chilliwack Mountain, and putting the tunes on really helps me move faster and just enjoy the walk, and actually look like an idiot because I'll have my phone out and dancing to the music, and I'm singing out loud and got the headphones in, so maybe I don't realize how loud I am, but the neighbors don't seem to mind, so it's okay, but a lot of fun. So I'm always been a huge Jimmy Buffett fan from way back, and actually got to in Vancouver. He came to Vancouver. He died a year ago or so, but before that he had come to Vancouver for a concert a couple of years back. And so me and a buddy, long-term buddy, put our dress to the nines with the wildest, floweriest shirts that you could have, and had a giant hat with a huge parrot on the top, and we got front row seats. My wife Janet was able to somehow secure that. I don't know how much it cost, but but we were front row seats, and of course I was going mental singing to all the songs from the front row, and when he finished the his concert, he reached down and shook my hand from the stage because I was going so mental in front of him. So I didn't wash it for quite a while afterwards. Yeah, I was a big Dylan fan too, and lately there's a lot of guys I like now, but I really enjoy who's that? Oh, geez. Particular today, I was just listening to forget names so much though. Hang on 1 second. Recommend.
I can.
Oh, Peter Gabriel. I was listening to a lot of those songs. Salisbury Hill is one. There's one on there, and it's just got such a little. As soon as it put it on, I just start moving.
I can personally attest to music being a huge motivator for me as well. If I need to even do something as like clean the house or do yard work, I need my music. It definitely helps me get moving. Brian or Penny, do you use music as a motivator?
Well, I have when I'm out, I have music cranked all the time when I'm working out. You know, my like, I like your David, I like your selections. I also there's a band, Doug and the Slugs. I just
Oh
cranked
yeah,
them
oh yeah.
all their albums. Just, you know, I'm done. You know, probably David Bowie too. But like this, what loud and fast. I like that.
Creedence
And
Clearwater is another big
Yeah.
friend. John Fogerty. I love all that stuff.
Brian's
Nice.
just graduated from an MP3 player.
And a Walkman. And a Walkman.
Oh,
Walkman, yeah. Oh, yeah.
that's retro.
Not
Nice.
to me. Not to me.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit what keeps you motivated and makes working out and staying physically active fun and engaging. I'll share some other tips for those that are listening and that may be helpful with keeping yourself consistent when it comes to physical activity. So picking a set time can be helpful. So when you're going to get your steps in, and for people living with dementia, that may be earlier in the day. So think about when you feel you're most energetic and alert. It can be helpful to even put it in your calendar and then have it as something that you can actually check off when you complete your daily goal, because I think that little boost of confidence is always nice to do. Um, and having an accountability partner. I don't know if that has worked for either of you, but somebody in your life who helps keep you motivated, somebody who will attend the gym with you or golf with you, and just to keep you engaged. And also, there may be someone in your life that can help you put together a physical activity plan for the week, and that can be helpful sometimes. And I've noticed in the chat, there's been a few suggestions as well. And I'll go back to Tobias shared that his spouse, who's living with dementia, likes yoga, and that motivates her. And he's not great at yoga, but he does it because she loves to go. And I think you also shared that she was your caddy at disc golf. So finding ways that both people can stay actively engaged. Another person's just going to the mall and for long walks around, but also that their person can lose their balance after walking for a while. So making sure that the activities are safe is an important step too. If anyone has any other suggestions they would like to share in the chat box around what helps you stay motivated and continuing to reach your fitness or physical activity goals, we would love to hear more tips and strategies. So please feel welcome to share them in the chat box. And there's also something important that I think I will read from the chat box around having maybe a one pager or a quick little handout that has some communication tips or some understanding around dementia. So if somebody is attending a fitness class or a yoga class and they may not be fully following the instructor, um, to make sure that these activities are dementia friendly and that everybody is able to participate. And I think that's a great idea. And we do have some resources, but maybe we could look at one specifically for fitness instructors and see what's out there. So thank you for that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit now about the connection between physical activity and our social networks, our social connections. So we know it can be an added benefit, and it sometimes is a byproduct if you're going to a gym or a fitness class in your community or playing a team sport. It also increases your social connections and your social networks. And science has showed us that when we combine physical activity and social interaction, we really increase the brain healthy benefits. And it can also make it a lot more fun and meaningful to us. And then therefore we're more likely to stick with it. So David, I'm going to ask you first. You have a love for the gym and you go regularly and you also play golf. How have those two things helped you maintain your social connections?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, there's yeah, at least um, at the gym, I would say at least 15, 18 people that I know by name or vice versa. So when you come in, it's, yeah, I think I made a note there. It's like, yeah, it's like walking into chairs. Everybody knows your name and it's just a nice feeling. So yeah. And the golf course, yeah, and golf course changes a little bit because there's a lot more people there, but and I do with the dementia do have trouble keeping up with all the names and do my best. It's I make 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 almost my own game of it to try to keep remembering as many as I can. But it's not a big deal. I mean, nobody cares if you forget their name, but it's helpful. But it's a great environment, yeah, and nobody worries about whether you forget something like that when you're golfing, and it's, so and what else I was going to say? There was something else, but yeah, it slipped my mind. That's okay.
That's okay. You mentioned that even just getting out and walking in your neighborhood has helped you make a lot of connections with your neighbors,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
people just knowing who you
yeah,
are, and
yeah.
that those have made a
Yeah,
big
it's a nice feeling.
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like today the power went out, so where we are, and I was walking around to see if there was other lights on. The power went out in our house, and I thought maybe it was our house, but it was the whole neighborhood when I was walking around. But so it turned out it was a rescheduled thing, but they gave us notice after the fact that happening. So, but I was walking by to check the neighbors to see if anybody knew. Couldn't see anybody home. That was so anyway. But yeah, normally I know that it's about 12, only about 12 homes on our road, and I know the names of at least 10 of them anyway. So I actually also one of the things I did I got a book at home where I separate from this about names, I went back without when we moved, for some reason I didn't have I wanted to bring my move. I lost it somewhere. My last high school, like 1970 high school book, which would have all other people that were in there.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I went back and just started writing down names of all friends I knew from kindergarten to elementary school and so on, to write down as many names as I could. So I keep adding to it as I think about it. But there's about 40, got about 45 of them in there right now. So it's just and add to them as they pop in my head. It's just a fun game to play for mind games, and I love doing crosswords and that. Just and my motivation with the crossword puzzle letter in the newspaper is just how long it will take me to get it done. So I try to get usually in about 30 minutes, but I try to get down to those 23 minutes to get them all in. So just a little motivational thing. I was always used to having to do that with work. You got to have some kind of motivation to do something. So some goals to reach. So yeah.
Nice. So between, making a habit of trying to remember people's names in the neighborhood, at golf, and incorporating any kind of brain games that you can, while keeping your physical activity up, and then just those social connections, those interactions, are so good for us. So it's lovely to hear that golf and the gym have been really big contributors in keeping you engaged, because you're relatively new to your community as well. So having those outlets have been
Yeah.
really key. Thank you. Brian and Penny, you've talked a little bit about this when you were talking about how the triathlon and the relays and things have brought so many of your family members and friends together to support Brian. But can you speak a little bit further about the social connection piece, and kind of how these sports goals have helped you build deeper connections and roots in your community and connect with your family?
Well, first, I have a very similar experience that David had with my gym. So many people are supportive and know who I am. I know them, and that's makes it a lot easier to go. So I totally agree with that. With our family, again, sport being as important as it's been, I've had the pleasure and honor of coaching all of my kids,
Hmm.
and right from their earliest days in whatever, everything from Harry Potter club to lacrosse to football, any game you want to mention. And I've been teammates and with my son on a couple of occasions, and I've been coached by my daughters. So I mean, it's they've been, the sports is so important, and I think it's really bonded on, like, it's again something my kids have specifically with me, right? That is very important, right? They go thrifting with Penny, but then and that's great too, because I get a lot of good stuff out of that. Uh, but relationships with the community, like I've reattached to the lacrosse team I played with for years and years. I helped out with their goaltenders this year, and again, I found out later that the coach gave them a heads up, but then as soon as I started talking the game, all that was gone, and then within 2 or 3, it was really good, and the family family's just been fantastic since all these events. They've been great, great fans, great competitors, great training, right? And I don't know, do you have anything to add, Ben? Like
Yeah, it's changing roles is different for us right now. Like initially, well, for the first few decades of our relationship is Brian's sports and him with the children's sports was kind of over there. And my job was to make snacks. That was my job. But now as Brian's journey with dementia is active and happening, I have more of an active role actually put to plan. I don't want to, but I do it, right? So of course with Brian and the children, they have a common language on sports that I don't have. So it means nothing to me, but no matter what's happening with Brian, that historical knowledge that he has on sports remains intact. So he has a common ground now to speak with the kids who are all adults now, to speak with the kids where they don't see the dementia. So it's nice to have a conversation where dementia is not rearing its head. It's not a constant reminder. So it's good that Brian and the kids can just have those conversations and just be adults together.
Yeah.
Right. So I have more of an active role now in planning the things. And, I've always attended. I've never clapped at the right time because I don't understand sports, but I've always attended. But now, yeah, now we have, our joke is that Brian got Alzheimer's just so I have to go to the gym with him, because eventually we want to maintain Brian's community at the gym. And when he can no longer go himself, I'll be taking him. Because I love him, I suppose, right? But those roles are changing because, Brian was always the leader in all of those things, and I was the bystander. Now we'll be swapping roles over, but the importance that has to Brian is so important that I'm willing to do that for him, right? Because he's seen right by me for 25 years, so now it's my turn, right? But I love watching Brian at the gym because, we have a lot of medical appointments, we have a lot of responsibilities, and then he goes to the gym and it's a different guy that comes out. This competitive, foul-mouthed person, that
Really?
sports guy that comes out. Yeah. But that's where he's in his element. And the lacrosse team reached out to say, could he run the gate and join back up with the team? Like that's the beauty of sports. It's just ongoing that Brian will always be involved. And he's super well known in our community for his sports involvement, like super well known. But this recent event that we just had where we have, his niece is an Olympian, his other niece is Olympic, internationally ranked in CrossFit. His niece designed all the shirts. It's an incredible artist. They all came together to do a triathlon together. And it's kind of beautiful to watch, right? The level of support that sports has brought out for him.
Nice.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an incredible sense of community that surrounds you through your love of sport and your lifelong commitment to coaching and being actively involved. And I think that connection with your children, the intergenerational piece that sports can sometimes help facilitate, will always be there.
I always knew I was a lucky guy, and even after diagnosis, it just even more so.
And even now, like Brian, worked in the schools, but he coached, for decades in this town. And now the kids that he coached are all adults. And they've read in the paper Brian's diagnosis of Alzheimer's, have come forward or somehow got word to him how much he impacted their life. Like those are huge things, like absolutely huge, right?
Absolutely. And
And then, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, David.
not near as much as you, but I did some, I coached kids when they were like in uh, baseball early on, and then later my game was soccer, and so I coached soccer for quite a few years, right from when they were like really small, and and they were like, some of them are only about 6 and 7 starting out, and coaching there, it's like just managing a beehive. You try to get them to play a position, but they just all go
Yeah, I saw
to the
the
ball.
ball.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun, and just
Yeah.
and then with that you get to meet all the parents and stuff too. So it's a good environment to get involved in, for sure. You know.
Yeah, and I love to hear that the kids you coached earlier in life are now your support, your cheerleaders later in life, and are finding an active role for you to stay involved in lacrosse and be part of the team in a really vital and important way. So
Yeah, they say everyone around me has stepped up, and I think 90% of them outside of my family have been from the sports community. So it's been,
nice.
and they've shared support. It's been mind-boggling. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll mention something Fred has shared in the chat, because if you haven't grown up with sports, it may feel daunting. How do I go out and make those connections? I haven't been part of a team. And Fred has made a suggestion about just going to your local community center or senior center,
Yes,
and they
yes,
have so many activities for every level. So from beginner to more competitive, from dance, he says workouts, table tennis, different trips, walking groups. And so Fred says it's never too late to join. And I really think that's an important message. Yeah, we can all find our ways to stay active regardless of our level. And if we can do it where there is a sense of community and others that can be there to encourage us and to make those friendships, I think there's so many added benefits to that for us in our mental wellness, our mental health. And it just gives us that encouragement to keep going when we have those connections in place. And I love the intergenerational connections that can also develop through sport and mentorship and coaching.
Yeah, there's a big group here playing pickleball at in Chilliwack too. So, and it's just so easy. Anybody can wants, you just go in and join, and they'll be all, you just can just play. Like, you don't have to, you just have a racket and come. Sorry, there's room to step already. Always room to step in and play.
And you can enjoy sports as a fan too. You don't have to actively play. I play slow pitch, and we have an older adult who comes and keeps score at every one of our games. And she's a really important part. Every time when we do the end of the cheers, we give her a cheer, and she's like become part of our sports family. And
yes.
there's things like that I think there's lots of different ways that people can stay engaged. And we have many of our umpires who are older adults and ex-athletes and who still want to be part of the game. So. All right. Kind of our last topic that we wanted to touch on today was a little bit around addressing stigma and stereotypes that we see. So there are some many myths and stereotypes that do exist around dementia. And often what we see portrayed in, modern media, people think of someone with dementia near the end of their life, no longer capable to participate in some of the things that we've been talking about today. And often we don't see people in the earlier stages who are independent, engaged in their community, going to the gym, playing sports, on TV, in media. That's often not what's portrayed. And so, a question for both Brian and David and Penny as well. Have you experienced stigma while either going to the gym or during these sporting competitions? And if you have, how have you responded to it?
Sure. Like, oh yeah, there's one or two events, but one particular, someone asked when I was at the gym, and I'd been, and people, I think they saw me on heard an interview or something that Penny and I had done, and then they actually came up to me and asked me while I was in mid workout, "Are you allowed to be here by yourself?" And And I just was dumbfounded, but I wished I had the wherewithal to say, like, no, I'm not, but don't tell anybody. But it's like,
Yeah.
how silly, how silly. Here I am, I'm, I'm clubbing away in the gym, and it's like, oh boy. All
I
right.
can see
But
why
maybe
you want to say that. I'd agree.
you know, I'm sure they thought they were being helpful or caring, but it was like, oh, yes, I am allowed to be here.
And people have judged Brian's, wanting now to try new things. Well, he always had, but now he has this bucket list straight and try new things that, what if he makes a fool of himself? And I said, well, he always has.
I always have. Yeah.
If you didn't have dementia, it's okay to make a fool of yourself. So why has that changed suddenly that we have to try and protect the people that live with this journey from not trying new things and not failing? Failing's okay.
Yeah, just I've said this since the beginning. An all-star in baseball is a 300 hitter, like 3 out of every 10, right? So that means 7 times you're falling flat on your face, you're striking out, you're white. Hey,
Yeah.
Great. Okay. If I get 300, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah. Yeah.
So in a sense, dementia is not going to stop you from putting yourself out there, trying new things, making new goals.
I hope not. I don't think it will, but I hope not. And of course, I've got there's going to be a line, and I'm lucky enough to have him and everyone else around me to. Well, maybe not that, maybe not big fella. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. But right now, they're allowing. I'm still getting the support to try things.
The neuropsychiatrist that sees to Brian's Alzheimer's has asked that he no longer does combative sports because he doesn't remember competing in Las Vegas because he got such massive concussion. And on a brain with Alzheimer's, not the best thing, but
Oh,
he was enjoying himself. So who cares?
no.
Yes.
That is a huge topic. And I think something that we didn't touch on today, but yeah, the safety and your head health, right, through sports.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people do have, that attitude. If it brings you joy, we have to weigh because we
Balance.
all
Yeah.
live with a degree of risk, but it is important to protect yourself when you can. But
Yeah.
that was a goal that was really important for you to accomplish. And when I heard the story of you and your daughter and the amount of hours that you put into training for that wrestling tournament, it was incredibly touching. And I know that's something that your daughter will remember forever. That was one of those core memories, I think.
It is touching, but I think it was incredibly gratifying for her because, like, the background is I trained her for probably 5 years, 6 years, and she won 2 Canadian championships as
Amazing.
a wrestler.
Wow.
And when given the opportunity to train me, you know that expression, "Payback is a." Well, it certainly was. She loved it.
So
She
she didn't
loved
let
it.
you off easy.
Oh no, no, which I'm grateful for because I wouldn't have been as prepared as I was if I, like there were obvious. I was a 50, 57, 58-year-old man as opposed to a 20-year-old guy trying to get ready. So there were some of the allowances, but no, she did a great job. She's a great coach. Well, and all my kids are great, but she was great. She really stepped up and she sacrificed a lot of her time, some of her school, just to do this. And again, lucky guy, right?
And I think when it comes to like facing stigma or discrimination or having people ask questions like, are you able to do this? Are you able to be here on your own? Both Brian and David and Penny, I see this approach of humor, which I think has an amazing coping mechanism as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And I thank you for bringing humor into this discussion too.
I noticed on a one of the comments that came on there, mentioned about having a bracelet and when, or something to that effect, identifying. And we were in, went down to, Arizona area earlier in the year, and some reason ended up buying. I never wore jewelry, but there was this nice silver chain place, and so my wife got necklace which shows mentions dementia and the name and so on, so that somebody finds you then that you're lost or something like that. It's nice identification. So
David,
Yeah.
I got one.
you got one too.
A wristband with medical alert and same things, just on the flip side, eh? I bristled when we first got it, but it was the whole thing. Get used to it now, and it doesn't come off me. Eh?
No, it says call Penny and has my phone number on it. It says Alzheimer's. Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to find one that looks like a nice piece of jewelry. You know, not the typical medical alert that is not attractive. Like wear something that looks attractive.
Yeah, it's nice that people can have their choice, something that goes with their style. Again, a sense of self-expression, even if it is a need. And thank you for mentioning that, because there is a safety factor, and as the disease progresses, there will be people who will offer help, and it may be needed. And so, thank you.
While we're down there, my boys and I got the bright idea to get some tattoos. So I got
Oh.
on the back of my calves, got big, huge Chicago Bear fans, the Bears.
Excellent. Excellent.
Nice. That's lovely. Okay, so final thoughts on this topic. This is an open question for everyone. Are there any last words you'd like to say to those that are tuning in today, or any words of encouragement for somebody who might be looking to get more physically active and not be sure where to start? Anything you'd like to say?
David? Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah. Do you want to go first, man?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think of what to say specifically.
Okay. Just keep trying. I was fortunate. Like, just keep trying. Like, even if try new things all the time, because that stimulates your body and your mind. You know, uh, you know, don't worry about being good. Believe me, I certainly haven't. Just get out there and try. Uh, and the benefits, the physical benefits, the mental health benefits, and the social benefits. That, man, it's like, don't stop. And if people tell you not to stop, don't listen and let you know. They're just keep going.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
But don't be afraid to maybe get out of your comfort
Yeah.
zone. And if you need support, I think the idea of having what was the word I used earlier? The partner who keeps you going, right? In terms of motivation. I think that can be really key. And then there's built-in support too.
Yeah, I think, and the idea of trying something a little different is really good. And I've seen that written many times, that that's good for your brain to just, turn itself on in a little, to do something a little different, and it keeps it activated more. So yeah, so I used to play a lot of tennis, a ton of tennis, and then I saw what pickleball's here, and I went and tried it a couple of times, and I was like, felt really awkward because it's such a different melon. But I should get back and try to give it another go. It's a good active sport without having to to go too far. So.
Maybe put together your playlist too to help
Oh.
get you started. Thank you. I'll just share for those that are listening in that are kind of looking at getting more active and maybe not sure where to start. I will mention the Alzheimer's Society of BC does offer a fitness and social program called Minds in Motion for people living with earlier symptoms of dementia to attend with a family member or friend. And so we do offer this program both online and in person in some communities across BC. So if you would like to learn more about that program, please reach out to the First Link Dementia Helpline, and we'll happy to let you know how you can get involved. And then the helpful resource document that Ashton has been sharing in the chat box includes some wonderful links to some programs like the Choose to Move program, which offers a science-based approach to help you introduce the habit of physical activity into your daily life in a way that makes sense for you. So it's very flexible, and they'll work with you to find what's right. And it's a free program available both online and in person for people 55 and older that are residing in BC. So there's some great resources to help you get started, some guidelines, and even some tools to help you create an activity plan and help with motivation. And so at this time, I'll open it up if there's any questions that people have for our guest speakers. We have some time to answer a few. And Ashton, I will call on you for a second. I haven't been able to keep up with the chat for the last few minutes. Is there any questions that we missed?
I think you got most of them. We've kind of just had a little bit of really helpful back and forth in the chat, people giving each other tips, which is wonderful. I don't think I've had any questions. Someone did ask about, the necklace or the bracelets. So the one that Brian had kind of shown there, how or where could you get one like that?
So the one that Brian wears, we've actually just, because it's not a registered one. So it literally is just off Amazon, and it's customized to Brian, has his name, Alzheimer's, and has my phone number on it. So we use that, and we're just adding on to that, looking at where Brian started to wear a GPS tracker in a watch form, so that when he does his sports, because he'll say, I'm going to the gym for 2 hours, and he's gone for 4 hours, and I don't know where he is, and he's forgotten his phone. So we're adding that piece of jewelry on for him to start to wear, to give me a peace of mind.
Absolutely.
But those are both on Amazon. But I did see, I think Tobias made the comment to do your research. It really is important, but Brian didn't want to wear one, but when we found something that was his taste, we ordered it as a compromise. But also I've ordered two, so I have a backup, because he loses things. Even before Alzheimer's, he lost things. So we have two of everything.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So my wife Janice got what are the tags? What are they called? Air tags, I think they're called.
Air tags, yeah.
They're in my keys and my wallet, and several places where she can track me, and it's helped because we actually did lose the wallet one time, and it was we left it in a Uber car, and he had fallen under the seat, and he didn't even see it, so fortunately we got it. Yeah. I always got one other thing. We were on the music thing. I did jot down three songs to add. So if anybody wants them. Two more were from Peter Gabriel, Salisbury Hill, because it's one of those things as soon as you hear it. So I just want to get going. And then one's Don't Give Up. And that's sort of in tune with how we feel. And another one that's in tune, it's called Kurt Vile, Kurt Vile, and it's how lucky can one man get? So it's like, despite this stuff, so when I go for that walk, I still feel how lucky I am with what I've got and what my friends, my family, and my environment. So I'm happy. So be positive instead of worrying about the downside of our disease.
Thank you, David. That gratitude piece is so key to, maintaining your well-being too. And music can be a powerful motivator. There is a question maybe we could touch on here around some of the symptoms that you might experience apart from forgetfulness or memory loss, are there any other symptoms that you experience?
You talk about feeling vague.
Oh, yeah. Like now, I lost track of the conversation. Sorry, and
No, it's
a,
okay.
a vague feeling like I'll get up in the morning and I'm up, I'm looking around, and he's saying, "How are you?" So don't know, and that's my answer. I feel okay. Probably I feel okay. There's just it's like I have no idea what the heck's going to be happening today. I just there's no direction. Even though Penny and I sit down the night before and map out what the day's going to be, it's gone. I see the paper or I see that usually it's on paper and but just a vague feeling like it's nothing. I don't think physical. It's a light and it's not even a real foggy. It's just light head, like an overwhelming sense of I don't have a clue,
Hmm.
really.
And I think that, for Brian, some of the ones that are more difficult to manage, if you like, or his stress tolerance is changing. So Brian is the most patient guy. We've both worked with vulnerable population our whole career, and now his ability to manage stress is changing, and his reaction to that.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So for 25 years, Brian would get mad at me and go, "Oh, Pen," and I'd say, "Don't talk to me like that." And now he's starting to swear and took his life in his hands and actually swore at me. So those are things that I'm not used to, and Brian's not used to. So when he realizes what he's done, or I, to choose to tell him or not tell him, those are big things for us. That his personality is changing.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that they're harder to manage, we find, than the difficulty with memory. Difficulty with memory, we can give you, checklists that we use. We can give you systems that we use, but the emotional response you have from somebody you love telling you to F off is huge, right? So those are the kind of ones that we navigate with more challenge, because they're and things like the love language is changing. Every day for 25 years, I've had a cup of coffee to wake up to, and now he forgets. It's just rude. So how do we navigate the things that the memory is impacting, right? And the ability to juggle. We've raised 4 kids. We've both worked full time. So we've had very busy lives. But for us around Brian, we forget that busyness is not doable anymore.
Yeah, it's like Penny said, we have literally 10 things to do between 4 and 6, and no problem. Like they time constraints, of course, but and now it's like get this from downstairs and what?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
And sleep pattern has changed.
Yeah.
We got
Well,
3 levels in our house, and so I'd go down toward the garages and go down. Sure, I absolutely know what I'm doing, and then open the door. What was it? So sometimes I have to go all the way back up to remember, but yeah, it's
Getting your steps in at least.
Yeah.
yeah, look on the bright side of it. Yeah.
But no, thank you. That's helpful. I hope that helped answer that question a little bit in terms of what you might be experiencing on top of memory loss. There can be, some personality changes, our ability to cope with stress and manage change and adapt, to multitask. All of those things can be impacted. And I see in the comments is sometimes physical things can change too, around balance and coordination and those types of things too. Our ability to process information coming in at us and respond quickly. And a huge, huge thank you to you, Brian, Penny, and David, for being here and just sharing a little bit about what keeps you motivated, how you stay active. And we hope that that was some inspiration for others that are listening in today. If you are listening in today and you are someone with lived experience of dementia, so you yourself are living with dementia or you're supporting someone in your life who's living with dementia, and you would like to share your story or become a lived experience partner with the Alzheimer's Society, please do email us. You can reach us at livedexperience@alzheimerbc.org, or you can learn more online at alzbc.org/lived experience. And that's on the screen there in the bottom of the slide. And we'll put it in the chat box as well. And then I just want to remind you that the First Link Dementia Helpline is here as a resource. So if there were questions that you had that maybe we didn't touch on today, or you would like more information on another topic or support, please feel welcome to call the First Link Dementia Helpline. It's available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 1-800-936-6033. We also have helplines for the Chinese and South Asian communities available from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then for those living in the Yukon, you can reach the helpline by calling the toll-free number 1-888-852-2579. Well, I want to send a special thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Thank you for being here for our lived experience webinar. We will have more lived experiences webinars coming up in the fall. And again, a special thank you to David, Brian, and Penny for sharing your story, sharing your experiences with us today. We're incredibly grateful for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now that we've been sitting for a while, I encourage everyone to get up and move your body a little bit too.